We also have an internship program here. But Penn State has a great kines department, and always has. So we have a really strong internship, and same thing. They just want to soak everything up. Like, they just can't believe that they have that sort of opportunity. And they're sitting up there with Vladimir Zatskiorski and all these things, and talking about all these amazing principles of training and things that CrossFit are basically founded on. But then they have no outlet for practical experience. They come in and I'm like, all right, perform a power clean. And they don't even know what piece of equipment to pick up.
So the undergraduate program in kinesiology requires all students to do what's called a Kines 495B. It's an internship of some sort. So depending on what your area of interest is, some people go and work with a PT, they go and do hospital work, but a lot of them can get internships doing personal training at the local gyms. And now that CrossFit here is opening up, some of them are doing their internships. I'm not sure how many hours they have to get throughout the semester, but it's quite a lot of hours. So it's a great way for them to get the experience actually in the field, something like CrossFit.
It ended up being a kind of a poor college student's plea for, superior training, as opposed to me just going to the college gym and trying to CrossFit on my own. I really felt like I had a lot to learn from Brian, but couldn't afford it at the time, so I pitched the idea to him. At this point, it was not even attached to the kinesiology department, and now it's kind of blossomed into something completely different. But it really just started out as, I think, a lack of money and also just a genuine interest to learn more about CrossFit and kind of the movements themselves.
In most places, the expectation is that someone is asking them what they're supposed to be doing exercise-wise. And the honest truth is they don't really know, and they're not moving that well. We give them an outlet where it's safe to come in and be like, all right, I'm a kines student, I've run all these marathons and I have no idea how to do some of the stuff that I'm expected to know how to do.
I got an email in my inbox saying that there was an opening at CrossFit Nittany, so I just called Brian on a whim. And honestly, at that point, I had no clue what CrossFit was, and he was great on the phone and said, send your resume, I'll give you a call back, and I did exactly that. So I ended up getting an interview, and honestly, the first day, Brian was asking me, show me what a clean is, and as far as any type of lifting goes, I was at a very basic level, so it's amazing to see how I've progressed since then.
I'd been a trainer for over 10 years before opening, whereas I think some people got introduced to CrossFit and then that's the only avenue they know. I had a fair amount of experience outside of CrossFit and then kind of chose CrossFit, and I think that comes across to people sometimes. We're going to introduce you properly. We're not going to rush you along or hurt you. And yeah, you're going to be uncomfortably sore for the first 30 days, but after that, you're going to find your way.
There's a lot of times when I come in and I'm witnessing a class for the first time, we're learning a different move. So it's really a learning process for me just as much as it is for them. There's a lot of times when I don't know something and I'll have to stop and ask Brian. But once again, it's amazing to see the differences and levels and where people are at. And honestly, I enjoy people who are beginning and starting off. For me, that's more my comfort zone, and it's awesome to witness.
Seeing a 55-year-old mother deadlift, teaching a 6-year-old guy who has never squatted before to do that, or seeing him squat and seeing what kind of things happen when he's deep in the squat, it reinforces that positive learning experience, and it makes me kind of go back to the basics every time and make sure that my mechanics are sound. It kind of keeps me honest so I don't get too caught up with the complexities of it.
From a kines background, it just made sense, and there are a lot of other training protocols that are similar under a different name in the sense that they're trying to accomplish the same thing, but I think they don't do as comprehensive a job. Some of the other certifications that I'd held were kind of geared around the same things, but CrossFit, I like the way Starrett talks about it just being like the kind of the best screening tool out there. When it's handled responsibly, I think that's the path that it takes.
I took exercise physiology, Kines 350, and we were learning about the different kind of energy pathway systems. And kind of the standard conventional approach to aerobic training via any textbook is always this kind of steady state 90% VO2 max effort kind of thing. And I raised my hand, and I said, why not more of an interval approach? Why not higher intensity? I've seen this work. What are the biological limitations to prevent this from being the optimal pathway? And I don't really think, I think that is the future, and I don't think the research is there yet, but I think in 10 years, that's going to be the kind of information that you're going to be learning in the classroom.
I think it's very relevant to functional fitness, and my background is in exercise psychology, and I think it provides a whole new twist to fitness as far as staying interested and staying motivated, and just kind of taking it to the next level in your fitness. Well, I think it's much more difficult, which I like, the challenge. Much more fitness oriented rather than sports oriented, so I do a lot of running and cycling and things like that, but this is just a whole different approach to fitness, and I really like it.
My main interest is trying to get women to be physically active, and we specifically look at pregnancy, so it doesn't really influence me, particularly since I'm not pregnant, but I am really interested in how we get people to adhere to physical activity and stick with it, because we know a lot of people will do it for a couple of weeks and then they fall off. So just coming here and keeping myself fit and just making sure that I get my exercise on a daily basis helps to reaffirm the things that I'm going out and teaching my students and other people at the university.
I'm doing more of the medical side of kines, so I'd like to be a physician assistant. So for me to just, again, have this, see this population of people and understand the use of exercise as medicine, and within that knowing that you need some sort of movement that's durable and meaningful has been awesome, because there is such a great community here, and seeing people get excited and want to move and participate and push themselves to the next level is really important to me.
For the kines department at Penn State, it's been fantastic because they have a place now, an outlet for students who want to learn. They want this stuff. You didn't get into being a kines major because you want to sit around and not know how to exercise. And I think we provide a really safe community for that, where there's no expectation of them coming in.
So I think that a lot of these workouts you could actually do at home, but I think one reason to come here and do it is because you have a lot of really good instruction here. You have a lot of motivation because every class is a little bit of a competition, at least with yourself for time, so it provides a time element and some peer competition as well to just kind of push you to do better, work harder, go faster, that kind of thing.
I think sometimes I just want to come in here and it is just a stress relief. So on that hand, I don't think I come in and I would think any differently than somebody who's wanting to use a workout for that purpose. But then there are days, especially when I'm learning a lot about certain movements, or, I do geek out a bit, and there are times where I'm like, wow, what I actually learned in class, this is what's happening to me right now physically, and even fatigue-wise, it's cool.
So I'm going to be graduating in May, going to physical therapy school. Kind of got into that watching the Mobility WOD by Kelly Starrett. Originally never imagined myself as a physical therapist, and I saw how cool it could be if you kind of get into the right physical therapy and how interesting it could be. And as I said before, now I'm a complete nerd for movements in general. I study Starrett, I love Carl Paoli, and would love to, the dream would be getting that doctor of physical therapy degree, and then maybe having my own CrossFit gym kind of tied together the way Starrett does in San Francisco.